Letter 242, by Charles Lamb. Charles Lamb to Mrs. William Wordsworth, 18 Feb. 1818, East India House. Mary shall send you all the news, which I find I have left out. My dear Mrs. Wordsworth, I have repeatedly taken pen in hand to answer your kind letter. My sister should more properly have done it, but she having failed, I consider myself answerable for her debts. I am now trying to do it in the midst of commercial noises, and with a quill which seems more ready to glide into arithmetical figures and names of goods, cassia, cardamoms, aloes, ginger, tea, than into kindly responses and friendly recollections. The reason why I cannot write letters at home is that I am never alone. Plato's I write to WW now, Plato's double animal parted never longed, more to be reciprocally reunited in the system of its first creation, than I sometimes do to be but for a moment single and separate. Except my morning's walk to the office, which is like treading on sands of gold for that reason, I am never so. I cannot walk home from office but some officious friend offers his damned unwelcome courtesies to accompany me. All the morning I am pestered. I could sit and gravely cast up sums in great books, or compare some with some, and write paid against this and umped against t'other, and yet reserve in some corner of my mind some darling thoughts all my own, faint memory of some passage in a book, or the tone of an absent friend's voice, a snatch of Miss Burrell's singing, a gleam of Fanny Kelly's divine plain face. The two operations might be going on at the same time without thwarting, as the sun's two motions, earth's I mean, or as I sometimes turn round till I am giddy in my back parlor while my sister is walking longitudinally in the front, or as the shoulder of veal twists round with the spit, while the smoke wreathes up the chimney. But there are a set of amateurs of the bell letters, the gay science, who come to me as a sort of rendezvous putting questions of criticism, of British institutions, Lalla Rooks and see what Coleridge said at the lecture last night, who have the form of reading men, but, for any possible use reading can be to them but to talk of, might as well have been Anticadmeans born, or have lain sucking out the sense of an Egyptian hieroglyph, as long as the pyramids will last before they should find it. These pests were at me at business and in all its intervals, perplexing my accounts, poisoning my little salutary warming time at the fire, puzzling my paragraphs if I take a newspaper, cramming in between my own free thoughts and a column of figures which had come to an amicable compromise but for them. Their noise ended. One of them, as I said, accompanies me home lest I should be solitary for a moment. He at length takes his welcome leave at the door. Up I go, mutton on table, hungry as hunter, hope to forget my cares and bury them in the agreeable abstraction of mastication. Knock at the door, in comes Mrs. Hazlitt, or M. Burney, or Morgan, or Demogorgon, or my brother, or somebody to prevent my eating alone, a process absolutely necessary to my poor wretched digestion. Oh, the pleasure of eating alone! Eating my dinner alone, let me think of it. But in they come, and make it absolutely necessary that I should open a bottle of orange, for my meat turns into stone when anyone dines with me. If I have not wine, wine can mollify stones. Then that wine turns into acidity, acerbity, misanthropy, a hatred of my interrupters, God bless 'em. I love some of 'em dearly, and with the hatred a still greater aversion to their going away. Bad is the Dead Sea they bring upon me, choking and death-doing, but worse is the deader dry sand they leave me on if they go before bedtime. Come never, I would say to these spoilers of my dinner, but if you come, never go. The fact is, this interruption does not happen very often, but every time it comes by surprise that present bane of my life, orange wine, with all its dreary stifling consequences, follows. Evening company I should always like had I any mornings, but I am saturated with human faces, divine forsooth, and voices all the golden morning, and 5 evenings in a week would be as much as I should covet to be in company, but I assure you that is a wonderful week in which I can get 2, or 1, to myself. I am never CL but always CL and co. He, who thought it not good for man to be alone, preserve me from the more prodigious monstrosity of being never by myself. I forget bedtime, but even there these sociable frogs clamber up to annoy me. Once a week, generally some singular evening that, being alone, I go to bed at the hour I ought always to be abed. Just close to my bedroom window is the club room of a public house, where a set of singers, I take them to be chorus singers of the 2 theaters, it must be both of them, begin their orgies. They are a set of fellows, as I conceive, who being limited by their talents to the burthen of the song at the playhouses, in revenge, have got the common popular airs by Bishop or some cheap composer arranged for choruses. that is, to be sung all in chorus. At least I never can catch any of the text of the plain song, nothing but the Babylonish choral howl at the tail aunt. That fury being quenched, the howl I mean, a curster burden succeeds, of shouts and clapping and knocking of the table. At length overtasked nature drops under it and escapes for a few hours into the society of the sweet silent creatures of dreams, which go away with mocks and mows at cockcrow. And then I think of the words Cristobal's father used, bless me, I have dipped in the wrong ink, to say every morning by way of variety when he awoke. Every knell, the barren Seth, wakes us up to a world of death, or something like it. All I mean by this senseless interrupted tale is, that by my central situation I am a little over-companied. Not that I have any animosity against the good creatures that are so anxious to drive away the harpy solitude from me. I like and cards, and a cheerful glass, but I mean merely to give you an idea between office confinement and after-office society, how little time I can call my own. I mean only to draw a picture, not to make an inference. I would not that I know of have it otherwise. I only wish sometimes I could exchange some of my faces and voices for the faces and voices, which a late visitation brought most welcome and carried away leaving regret. But more pleasure, even a kind of gratitude, at being so often favored with that kind northern visitation. My London faces and noises don't hear me, I mean no disrespect. Or I should explain myself that instead of their return 220 times a year, and the return of WW and C 7 times in 104 weeks, some more equal distribution might be found. I have scarce room to put in Mary's kind love and my poor name. This to be read last. WH goes on lecturing against WW, and making copious use of quotations from said WW to give a zest to said lectures. STC is lecturing with success. I have not heard either him or H, but I dined with STC at Gilman's a Sunday or two since, and he was well and in good spirits. I mean to hear some of the course, but lectures are not much to my taste, whatever the lecturer may be. If read, they are dismal flat, and you can't think why you are brought together to hear a man read his works which you could read so much better at leisure yourself. If delivered extempore, I am always in pain, lest the gift of utterance should suddenly fail the orator in the middle, as it did me at the dinner given in honor of me at the London Tavern. Gentlemen, said I, and there I stopped. The rest my feelings were under the necessity of supplying. Mrs. Wordsworth will go on, kindly haunting us with visions of seeing the lakes once more which never can be realized. Between us there is a great gulf, not of inexplicable moral antipathies and distances, I hope, as there seemed to be between me and that gentleman concerned in the stamp office that I so strangely coiled up from at Haydon's. I think I had an instinct that he was the head of an office. I hate all such people, accountants, deputy accountants. The dear abstract notion of the East India Company, as long as she is unseen, is pretty, rather poetical. But as she makes herself manifest by the persons of such beasts, I loathe and detest her as the scarlet what-do-you-call-her of Babylon. I thought, after abridging us of all our red-letter days, they had done their worst, but I was deceived in the length to which heads of offices, those true liberty-haters, can go. They are the tyrants, not Ferdinand nor Nero. By a decree passed this week, they have abridged us of the immemorially observed custom of going at 1 o'clock of a Saturday, the little shadow of a holiday left us. Blast them. I speak it soberly. Dear WW, be thankful for your liberty. We have spent 2 very pleasant evenings lately with Mr. Monkhouse. Mary Lamb's letter of news either was not written, or has not been preserved. Lamb returned to the subject of this essay for his popular fallacy, that home is home, in 1826 C. Vol. Roman II, of this edition. A little previously to that essay, he had written an article in the New Times on unwelcome callers C. Vol. I. Miss Burrell, Fanny Burrell, afterwards Mrs. Good. Lamb wrote in praise of her performance in Don Giovanni in London, C. Vol. I of this edition. Fanny Kelly's divine plain face. Only 17 months later Lamb proposed to Miss Kelly. What Coleridge said. Coleridge was still lecturing on Shakespeare and poetry in Flower-de-Luce Court. The 2 theatres, Drury Lane and Covent Garden. Bishop Sir Henry Rowley Bishop, 1786–1855, composer of Home, Sweet Home. Christabel's father. Each matin bell the Baron Seth knells us back to a world of death. Part Roman 2, lines 1 and 2. W.H. goes on lecturing. Hazlitt was delivering a course of lectures on the English poets at the Surrey Institution. Gentlemen, said I, on another occasion Lamb, asked to give a toast, gave the best he knew woodcock on toast. See also his toasts at Haydon's dinner. I do not know when or why the dinner was given to him, perhaps after the failure of Mr. H. Gentlemen concerned in the stamp office. See note to the preceding letter. Our red letter days. Lamb repeats the complaint in his Elia essay, Oxford in the Vacation. In 1820, I see from the directory, the accountant's office, where Lamb had his desk, kept sacred only 5 red-letter days, where 10 years earlier it had observed many. Mr. Monkhouse, Thomas Monkhouse, a friend of the Wordsworths and of Lamb, he was at Haydon's dinner. Here should come a note from Lamb to Charles and James Ollier, dated May 28, 1818, which apparently accompanied final proofs of Lamb's works. Lamb remarks, there is a sonnet to come in by way of dedication. This would be that to Martin Burney at the beginning of Vol. Roman II. The works were published in 2 volumes with a beautiful dedication to Coleridge C. Vol. Roman IV, of the present edition. Charles Ollier, 1788–1859, was a friend of Leigh Hunt's, for whom he published, as well as for Shelley. He also brought out Keats' first volume. The Ollier's address was the Library, Vere Street, Oxford Street.